What is going on, my friends, and welcome back to another video on the channel. Well, in today's video, we are going over Solana as things do heat up, and Solana is giving us indicators and signs that a price crash of 20 to even 30% could very possibly be on the way. So with something that catastrophic, of course, possibly coming, let's not waste any time, and let's go ahead and let's get straight into it. So looking at Solana, what we can see is that we did get the exact move that we called for in the last video. Now in the last video, we were tracking the Fibonacci's from this little wick low down here up to the bounce high. And what I told you in this video was that if we lose this 35 level right here, and we start to break down, or this 39 level, sorry, and we start to break down below the 786, expect us to visit all the way down a 10% crash towards $35.40. I said that is almost always what happens when you lose the 786 level on the Fibonacci's. And what we can see is that right after that video did end, we came down, we lost that 786 level, and then we came straight back down to, what do you know, the bottom side of our Fibonacci's, being this wick low around $35.40. Now I told you guys that if we broke below the 786 level, I would be looking for a short trade down to that 35.40 level, which was going to be about a 10% fall. And of course I do trade on 2 to 3x leverage, so for me this was roughly a 20% gain just off of these 2 days of price movement here. So now that we have seen this trade come to completion, I do want to start to see, okay, well, what's next? Well, of course, looking at Solana, one thing in which we can see is that we have definitively set in the descending wedge. Now, in this descending wedge, it does give us a confirmation of a few bad things. The first bad thing is the fact that we are very likely completing the rejection off of this macro descending wedge that we came back up to retest. As you guys do know, ever since September of last year, we have been interacting with the top and bottom side of this wedge. And the moment that we lost it, I said, if we break out, come back up and retest this and get rejected, we are very likely going to come back towards $26. And as you can see, as we did break to the downside here, we came back up, we retested, we got rejected, and now we are in a position in which we very likely could revisit this mid 20 range, which from here is, still a fall of up to 30%. Now, not only that, though, if we do take all of this stuff off and just simply look at our Bollinger Bands, you can see we did just get another big rejection off of the 20 simple moving average. Historically for Solana, when we get rejected off this 20 SMA, we will see these larger corrections to the downside. As you can see off of these two examples, as you can see here, as you can see this rejection we got just here. And even if we go back a little bit further in history, even if we look at right here, this rejection that did lead to, what's this? This is going to be in itself about a correction of up to 30%. You can see that it's not uncommon for these 20-30% crashes to happen once we lose this 20 SMA. And so for that reason, this rejection here tells us that another correction is very probable. Not only that, though, if we do look at our RSI and do a little bit of juxtaposition, you can see here that we have been setting these range higher highs on the RSI itself, but in terms of price, we have been setting the lower highs. As this does happen, what it tells us is that although the bulls are succeeding in changing the momentum, because of course we were seeing this exponential fall to the downside and now it's a little bit more sideways, they are not having success actually getting this thing turned around. And what ends up happening usually is that after the bears do take a little bit of a break, and this thing does rebound up a little bit, the bears will continue their journey to the downside, pushing the price and the RSI back to new lower lows, which does look like a capitulative event for the price itself. That is why it's called bearish divergence, okay? So considering the fact that we did just get rejected off that 20 SMA, considering the fact that we have bearish divergence on the RSI, considering the fact that we got rejected on the macro off of this big descending wedge, everything tells me that a push towards these new lower lows back here, probably around $26, seems very, very likely. So what we need to be on the lookout at this point is how do we interact with the bottom and top side of this wedge? Do we continue to ride this wedge down to the bottom side towards $26, or do we get a breakout? Do we get a breakout to the downside here as that bearish divergence goes into tag? That leads us towards this $20 level. Or do we again break out to the top side, retest this thing again, and then from there we have to figure out, okay, well, are we going to get rejected back to the 26 level, or are we going to finally recover some ground? So personally speaking, I am under the belief that this thing is getting set to continue to the downside. My current opinion and my current game plan is that if we come back down at this point and we break $35.33 and we start getting daily closes below that level, I would start to expect and anticipate a visit to at least $30 to revisit this zone of liquidity in which we had originally, started to see so much trading volume in back in the middle of last year. I think it is very likely that if we lose 35.30 on daily daily closes, that we will start to come to at least this $30 level. And so for that reason, I will be opening up another short trade. If we do lose this level and visit 30, that is going to look like a loss of about 13%, which on 2 to 3x leverage, that could be anywhere up to 26 to 39% in gains. Of course, I do not recommend short leverage trading for anyone who does not know how to do it. But personally speaking, I think this is the best way to capitalize on some gains in this market right now for Solana. And so for that reason, I'm just going to be on complete lookout for us to lose $35.30, because that will be an indicator to me that we will at least start to lose maybe 8 to even 13% before starting to possibly see another bounce back up to retest that level, right? I mean, it's very possible that we start to lose that level of support, we come down, we bounce back up to retest it, and then either continue or get back above it and start to change momentum here, okay? So considering we're seeing all of this bearish signs, I am getting ready to set up that short trade. But of course, there is always the opportunity that I'm wrong, right? Now, if I'm wrong, what I would need to see is the price get back above this wick high at $45. If the price of Solana gets back above the wick high at $45, that does change the tide of what we've seen recently. That does give us a new higher high to confirm the higher highs we have been seeing on the RSI itself. And then that would also allow us to get back above our first rejective high, which is always a good sign that a short-term uptrend at least is beginning, in which we may come back up to retest that macro wedge in which we had been tracking. So for that reason, the invalidation of my bearishness comes if we clear $45. But while we are below $45, I am expecting Solana's price to continue to the downside, and I am preparing for its price to come down to the downside, okay? So with that said, that's what I'm on the lookout for today. Things are not looking the most bullish in the short term, so I would not be doing too much accumulating or too much buying, even though it is a strong red day. If we do get a strong bounce back up above $45, then that could be a good time to accumulate. But until that happens, really, I'm not expecting that whatsoever. So with that said, that's going to be about it for today's update. I hate to be that guy who's just constantly bringing the bad news, but I do believe the fact that we are shorting this market and we are taking gains from these short trades does at least provide some type of bullish opportunity for us in the long term. We can use those profits to accumulate or use those profits to simply just hedge against the losses in which we are seeing now. But with that said, that's going to be about it for today's video. And of course, I hope you guys did enjoy. If you did, you can always let me know simply by smashing that like button and subscribing to the channel if you are new. And I will see you all next time. Peace.